Hi, this is Kevin Conroy, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Welcome to The Pull Bag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with the rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pull Bag.
Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag, episode 10. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me as always is...
Joe and Mike.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, comics this month has been actually quite interesting.
Oh my god. For those of you who have been paying attention to the past 9 episodes of Full Bag or so, or 10 episodes, I've pretty much gone full in. Many different things, not just DC. I still can't, outside of Superior Spider-Man, I still can't get into Marvel. Not that I dislike the Marvel characters, I don't. I just can't get into their comics. And I've started in on Transformers comics, as people would have heard from last episode when we talked with Ender. And I'm trying to make this show as diverse as possible, where it's just not every single episode is, hey, let's review this, hey, let's review that. That's why we have, I've said this before, that's why we have the Origins episodes, and not necessarily, I usually end up in the descriptions calling them discussions more than interviews, but they technically are interviews when I'm asking people questions about how they grew up on comics and stuff. And I don't think anyone else is really doing that right now. And I know that, you go on iTunes or on the internet and say comic book podcast, throw a penny, a million show up. So we are trying to make this as diverse as possible and not just your average everyday comic review show.
Yes.
But yeah,
comics have been nuts, though. I mean, and especially because every time I read a new of whatever,
yeah,
you feel inclined to buy it.
It's all your fucking fault.
Hey, it's true.
It's all your damn fault. I still have not gotten into Detective. I would have picked up Batman Inc., but when I went to the shop, they didn't have any more left. Obviously, it's been a week or so since at the time of this recording, it's been a week since Batman Inc. number 10 went on sale, and it's, as of this recording's release, it would have been 2 weeks. But I did try to find it, and I just couldn't. But I'm pretty happy with what I have from DC for now. I'm still interested, and we'll get into this here in a minute when we start reviewing the stuff. I'm interested to see when they are going to end the Injustice comic series, because it says that it's a prequel to the events of the game, and I have since last episode seen the story mode in the game from our friend Balt Matrix over on YouTube and Twitter and all that good stuff, and I'm wondering where this prequel series will end, because I know right now on DC they have listed through issue 7. So I wasn't expecting a whole nother ongoing. I was expecting something like what Marvel did with their Iron Man 3 preludes, where it's just a 2-issue series. I was expecting the Injustice thing to be a 5-issue series, and that's that. Then you go into the events of the game, but apparently not. Apparently the story is bigger than that.
Yes. So, with that, we'll get into the first issue of the night, which is one of many, actually.
Yes.
Injustice number 4.
Yes. So much better than number 3.
Yeah, I didn't pick up number 3 because I didn't feel inclined to do so.
I will basically reiterate what I wrote in my review on geekcastradio.com, because I wrote up a review for number 3 and number 4. Number 3, it starts out really cool. And then it has a really awesome scene with Batman in the Oval Office talking with the president. And then it switched to a Wonder Woman story because Ares is behind uh, controlling the attack, the government attack on Superman, as far as like, we need to take him out now. And as we all know, Ares is the god of war, um, and all that stuff. And it just, I never, I've never, unless it's Justice League, like Susan Eisenberg Wonder Woman, something like that, like an animated show or an animated movie, or the 1970s Linda Carter series. I've never gotten into the whole Wonder Woman mythology at all. And like my favorite moments from her is when she is interacting with Bruce and Clark. It has nothing to do with her being on Themyscira or any of that stuff. But number 4, number 4 pretty much picks up where number 2 left off.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty good episode or comic.
Yeah, it was damn good, and it just the first, I guess you could say the first splash page panel, because the first 2 pages are one giant story in the Batcave, just continues to reaffirm to me that Dick Grayson is more of a father to Damian than Bruce will ever be. Because you got Dick and Damian. Ooh, that sounds wrong. You got Nightwing and Damian training, and it's really, really, really cool. And Damian, being the sneaky, underhanded Al Ghul that he is, tries to basically hit Nightwing when he's not looking.
And Superman interrupts him and warns him, and Nightwing's like, "Oh, I knew he was going to do it. He always tries."
Yeah, it's so awesome seeing it. It's so cool seeing these characters interact. And then you've got Bruce over there at the Bat computer saying, Damian isn't used to people just appearing in front of him. And then they get into a whole argument about whether Superman's gone off the deep end or not. Because he's scaring people. And they have a Batman Returns moment. When Superman basically yells Batman's mask off his face. Because the way that the mask is at that bottom panel on that 3rd page, it looks like he ripped it off. It looks like that rubber from Batman Returns at the end of the film. I think that's so cool that they put that in there.
Yeah. The only thing is Superman and Batman look exactly the same.
Yeah, they do on the 4th page.
Mm-hmm.
When
he rips his face off.
Well, right, but when the bottom of the 4th page, when Superman is pointing his finger, that next panel, bottom left, first panel is Superman pointing his finger, and then the next panel is Bruce saying it always starts with 1, but yeah, I didn't notice that before. The only difference in their faces is the S-curl versus the 3 little hairs, bangs that Bruce had. Wow. Holy crap. Yeah, that's strange. Very, very strange.
Yeah.
And then it switches to Aquaman. Yay.
Yeah,
I didn't lose interest in this because it's mostly a battle, and I think it's interesting that you have this technically world power with Atlantis, and basically Green Lantern, Shazam, and Diana having to stop him from. They're trying to stop Aquaman from attacking the soldiers who are attacking the whales. So it's kind of like a misdirection. This goes here. It's one of those things. It's one of those convoluted plots. Yeah, I like the action scenes. The art is amazing with the battles, but like the whole argument here is who is going to be for who. Who's gonna? This issue is pretty much who is going to be on whose side for the most part. Is really what this issue is all about. And the most interesting things to me aren't what happens with the Battle of Atlantis or the battle with Atlantis or the Battle of Aquaman. It's the Batman Superman stuff. It just is. I don't know. What are some of your thoughts on this one?
Well, I thought it was interesting the fact that Superman had Green Lantern and them take Atlantis into the desert.
Yeah, that was...
He was kind of being a dick, but, that's Superman. I don't know. I thought he was kind of just a really big dick in this issue. They're making him too dark to the point that it's like, I could, at this point take him or leave him. Like, I understand he's supposed to be, like, hell-bent on it, but he's supposed to be the purest of them all, and as Bruce put it.
Right, but... Okay, well, what broke Bruce's back outside of Bane was the fact that his parents died in front of him at a young age. And you got to think of it in terms of Superman was the instrument of Lois and his unborn child's death perpetrated on by the Joker. And then all of Metropolis blew up. So Superman feels guilty for all of that. And that's what's causing him to be this dark. I do like that he basically... I think it's almost crossing a line, but I can't believe they got away with it. The line where he was like, your parents died and they left you. Actually, what is the line? Yeah. Your parents died and left you, Bruce. What's your excuse for not being a father? And then, of course, Batman hauls off and hits him and basically fractures his fingers.
Yep.
And I love how, while in the cave, Superman is leaving, Alfred calls him Master Kent, and he's like, oh, Alfred, you don't have to call me Master, and he's like, good, remember that. Alfred says, good, remember that. I love that Alfred's just gonna get right. It's Alfred. Alfred has no, Alfred obviously is loyal to Bruce Wayne and the Bat family, but it's like, to me, he has never been that snarky of a character, but he has a point. Superman can't be the master of the world, or else he would, be a master of evil.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we get more sea battle and all of that, and yay, and they eventually come to a truce.
Because he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, because there is no choice either way. Because Aquaman, Superman's going to pull his dick move out, and Aquaman's going to do the exact same thing. He's going to invade every ocean on the planet and cut off the entire world from the ocean. So it basically ends in a stalemate, and they have to, go back to their neutral corners. It's going to be interesting to see what happens coming up in issue 5, because apparently continuity, even though this isn't in the New 52, but the continuity is catching up, because the next issue, Death of a Son. And it won't be any Connor Kent clone of Superman.
No, it'll be Damian again.
Of course. I really like this issue. It's a really damn fine written issue. Uh, the story is so much more fluid than issue 3, and it really got me pumped up to see what happens with issue 5 coming up later in May. So what else have you been reading?
Well, I picked up Batman Incorporated number 10.
Yes, what's going on in there?
I don't normally pick up this, but because of a particular mention in there, mostly from the cover, they have Azrael in the opening of it, and Batman's asking him about his armor and explaining that Batman Inc. is now defunct and they're being hunted by the police now, and he's also told by Fox that they spent, I think, $100 million on Batman Inc., which they're getting a bunch of backlash for, and he didn't realize that they spent that much retrofitting everybody. So it's a lot of jumping around throughout it, and then you see them doing a hunt of all that, and then Talia's playing chess with Raish, who's locked up in a jail cell, and he's sitting there kind of just watching everything happen. And then he said, "So you've done this and you've done this," and he says, "Oh, so you sacrificed your own son for your plan." He said, "Good." And then she says, "I didn't want to. He, forced me to." And talking about Bruce, and
Yeah.
He basically insinuated, "Don't underestimate the detective." And she says, "My plan is carefully thought out," and blah, blah, blah. And she says, "I've got this and this and this." And he says, "You've overlooked one thing." And then he starts laughing. And then, because she thought that, I have him right where I want him, I'm going to win. He says, that, and pisses her off. So, jumping ahead to later on, Bruce, because he asked Azrael if his armor protects its wearer from harm. He didn't say from anything in particular. He said from harm. Essentially, you see him sitting in a chair wearing Azrael's armor with his outer Batman costume. And there's this mechanical Batsuit, this giant mechanical Batsuit that Lucius Fox had showed him earlier on in the issue, which he told him that whoever wore it would be massively hurt. So they kept it in the mothball area. And because all of his Batman robotic drones that were basically scrap metal, Lucius was just making sure that he wasn't going to send any more of those out. And he says no. So we cut to later on, and Bruce has, like I said, sitting in that chair. And then it cuts to, I forget the guy's name. He's in the official first episode of Batman.
Official first.
It's the of the animated series. It's the guy, the Man-Bat guy.
Oh, Langstrom.
Langstrom, yeah. The police are interrogating him, saying, "Why was Batman here?"
Right.
And he's, basically denying it, and then Batman comes out from a curtain and just sucker punches and knocks these guys out. And then it cuts to later, and he has the Man-Bat serum and injects it in his neck.
Oh, wow.
His own neck. And he's wearing this mecha battle armor that Lucius gave him, along with the Azrael armor on the very underneath part. And he's got his mask over, and then you start seeing the teeth and then that's that's all you see for the moment. And Talia's in her little throne, saying, one of her guys says, "Oh, there's something coming," and she's saying, "Oh, well, Batman's over," and blah blah blah, and he comes flying in this mecha armor as basically a Man-Bat, but not quite fully transformed because of the Azrael armor.
Right.
And there's like hundreds of thousands of bats behind him, flying in at Talia, and then that's where the issue ends.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, so Batman did pull the dirty card.
It almost sounds like a more elaborate version of what he did in Starcrossed in Justice League, in Justice League Season 2 finale, where he throws a batarang at one of the Hawk people, and it just beeps, and the Hawk soldier's like, "Your weapons are pitiful." Kevin Conroy just says, "Wait for it." And that's when the bat gag comes in and all the bats swarm. So this sounds like something that is is the same thing, but this is obviously way more elaborate than that version of it. So that's pretty damn cool. I might have to, if that, I assume that would get a reprinting, or a second printing. So I might have to pick that up and check it out, because I will say at the end of, I think it was issue 9. Issue 9 ended where it had the thing where it says, next, Gotham's Most Wanted, and it was in the style of the 66 logo. And I was like, ooh, that looks interesting. But I never did end up picking up issue 10, so I might have to go back when it's printed a second time around.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it. I was quite surprised, to say the least.
Yes. So I think we're going to take a quick break and see why Bruce Wayne is attacking Commissioner Gordon.
Bruce Wayne, you set me up. But will the truth come out?
Your last chance. Who was impersonating Wayne?
And welcome back. And we'll be jumping into Batman 19.
I kind of hope DC does this in the future more often, but I don't. At the same time, I'm glad that I don't think they are going to do it with the 20 issues. But for all of the 19 issues, they have all splash covers and teases, and it's very, very awesome because the tease is Bruce Wayne's greatest foe ... and you see Bruce holding a gun with Batman as the shadow. And then when you fold it out, Bruce Wayne's greatest foe ... Jim Gordon ? Very, very awesome. Absolutely love it. This issue caught me off guard, honestly. Like, I guess I had it in the back of my mind that, it was Clayface because that has happened before in the animated series, but like, I went into this book not knowing what was going on. I didn't think, I think everyone speculated, ooh, the Joker come back, and Batman was actually, or Bruce was actually going to kill him, or something. But no, I love that. I love this. That whole imagery, the whole art is just beautiful. Where Bruce fires the gun and what looks like to kill Commissioner Gordon. That is just so amazing to me. It just is.
Yeah, I was quite confused at that point.
Yeah, everybody was. That's the point. But no, I love this issue. Snyder's writing is absolutely on par, absolutely amazing. Greg Capullo's art is just great. And I love the fact that Alfred is trying to connect with Bruce in the cave, bringing up Master Jason, bringing up death in the family. So even though DC has gone and said, oh, we're rebooting and all that stuff, and they've erased certain things from continuity, obviously that one thing, or at least that is one of the things that they did not erase. Because I know that with Batman and Green Lantern, because there were stories last year that they wanted to see to fruition that they did not, those were the two heroes that did not get a full-on reboot or retelling. But there are certain things in the Bat family continuity that do not exist, like the Teen Titans and all that stuff. But this issue is just so amazing. And it just goes to show that, Batman's determination in finding out why Wade's was a suicide, when he said that's not possible. I love the fact, I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but I do love the fact that when it goes from the point of shooting Gordon to where it jumps to 6 days ago, before any of that happened, he's on the Bat Pod. I love that they're using that design. That is so cool.
Yeah, it was interesting to see it put in there.
Yeah, very, very cool. Because you have to have some sort of updated version of the Bat Cycle. Just like bat wings change all the time and everything else. But what did you think overall?
Not a bad issue. I think it's interesting that they're covering the whole Clayface part of it in here, and the fact that he's de-evolving.
Yeah.
Basically breaking down into a true clay man. So,
yeah.
Granted, Clayface isn't my favorite character by any means in the comics, but I'm kind of looking forward to see what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, and this is all...
Especially with Bruce Wayne now on the run.
Yeah. Well, this is all... I don't know how this is going to tie into whatever else is going on in, like, Ink and Detective and all that stuff, but...
Well, have you listened to the Fat Man on Batman episode where he's talking to Dan Didio?
Yeah.
Where they basically took the formula for the New 52 that they have however many issues separate for however many months, and then they eventually converge back into one storyline again.
Oh, yeah. No,
so for right now, I think it's not going to actually matter.
No. I know. Yeah, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, like, to me, issue 19 and 20, because issue 20 is the sequel. This month's coming up issue here in May is the conclusion to this story that's in 19. That's basically to put a period on what has happened between Court of Owls, Death of the Family, and the aftermath of Death of the Family, and these two issues here, because obviously once we get to Batman 21, that's when the 0 year starts. So I like that Snyder and Greg Capullo, and again, if I'm saying the name wrong, I'm sorry. I like how they are telling a Clayface story versus going to something like a Penguin story or a Two-Face story or something else. I like that they're using Clayface, and I think that's really cool. But no, the art in this is amazing. The whole thing, when Lucius spits out the clay, that's just, or gags out the clay, I guess you could say, doesn't. It looks awesome, but it doesn't look right because it looks like his jaw's gonna just snap.
Yeah, it did look kind of weird.
Creepy as all hell. And then the backup story is next the Wrath of Clayface obviously will be what happens in issue 20 later this month, and then the backup story. I actually read the backup story. I thought it was interesting. What did you think of the backup? Did you read the backup?
I did, but I can't remember what it was.
It's basically Batman and Superman.
Oh, where they go into that nether world?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't much care for that.
Well, what I liked about it was the beginning part of it, where they're meeting up, and they're like,
you do what you want, and he's like, if you need to talk, and he's like,
I did like all of that. So I liked that the backup story is kind of tying into all the other stuff. But yeah, in general, I'm not that big of a fan of the backup stories, and just please, somebody get rid of Channel 52. Somebody blow that television station up.
What does that have to do with anything?
Channel 52 at the back of the book.
I think I heard something that they might actually get rid of that.
I hope they do, because to me it's just utter, it's
a waste of 3 pages.
Yeah. It really, really is. I mean, well, it's a waste of, it's actually 2 pages in Batman 19, but yeah, I mean, and it's the same thing every issue. Like, it would be different if in Nightwing 19 that Channel 52 did a story of Nightwing showing up in Chicago. You know what I mean? Like, but every single issue to this point, it's the same thing in each one of the 19 issues. It's just repetitive and unnecessary. So, let's see what Nightwing is up to. Coming up next.
But who is he really? Tony Zuko. Oh my word. Finally.
Alright, we are back. And holy crap, Nightwing is going to Chicago, ladies and gentlemen, because Tony Zuko is apparently alive. For those of you who have not been reading Nightwing, you really should go back and read it if you're a fan of the Dick Grayson character. If you're like Jake from Punisher Body Count, who can't stand him, then obviously you stay away from it. But I'm loving what Kyle Higgins is doing in Nightwing. It's absolutely amazing. And this issue, this past month, issue 19, a new artist took over, Brett Booth. And I love what Brett Booth is doing with Nightwing. I will bring up, you know that old Transformers argument? Rumble is blue, Frenzy is red.
Yeah.
That kind of takes place with Nightwing. Not in this issue, but in overall, because they changed the suit from blue to red. And I didn't mention this earlier in Injustice, because in the Injustice game and in the Injustice comic, it's a blue suit, not a red suit. I still prefer the red.
That's New 52.
I know. But the splash cover for Nightwing 19 is basically Nightwing being thrown around, and there's ha 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 all over it. And the quote is, before you see the fold out cover, "Why so serious, Nightwing? Were you expecting someone else?" And it is the introduction of the prankster in the or enter the prankster in the New 52. And I don't know if the prankster has shown up before or not. I don't know. So if he has, I'm sorry, listeners. But basically, Nightwing has gone to Chicago to find Tony Zuko, and there haven't been superheroes in Chicago in a very long time. There's apparently some sordid past, and the issue starts with Nightwing being chased by the police. And it's very, very awesome. The it starts out with him being chased by the police. The page 2 and 3 is a giant splash of him basically like midair split, pretty much, where he's swinging and his legs are out. And the story for this one is called Second City, and it's basically him against the police, and he's wanting to find Zuko and see what's going on there, and he wants to do things on his own. We later see Dick Grayson at the dedication to the Western Station that the mayor is at, and apparently I guess Craigslist or whatever roommate he has found finds him and gives him a key and whatever else, and they go back there to the apartment, and he basically is Dick is monologuing about how he wasn't going to ask Bruce for anything at all. He wants to do it on his own, and I love that Kyle is writing it that way. I just do, because Bruce has Barbara, Bruce has Jason, Bruce has Tim.
Alfred.
Alfred, Grayson needs to be his own man. And he's talking about how having a roommate isn't really suitable to his Nightwing life, but the location is very, very awesome, because basically he suits up, hops on an L train, and heads wherever the L train, basically rides the L train. It's so freaking cool. I freaking love it. It's so awesome. We cut to a scene where it's some room where this chick is, and she seems to have multiple personalities. We don't really see a lot going on with that, but Nightwing crashes the party because he's looking for information about Zuko, and he finds this guy who is able to get information, but the guy double crosses him and whatever else, and it's such a, I read this issue twice the first day I bought it last month. I honestly did, because it's so well written, and the new art is so great. Don't get me wrong, I love Eddie Barrow's art. Eddie Barrows was the original artist on Nightwing New 52. I love his art, but Brett Booth is doing an amazing job. And come to find out that the police, the mayor, everybody knows that Nightwing is in town looking for Tony Zuko. And one of the last pages is basically, what do you think about all this, Tony? I think, Mr. Mayor, is closure's a tough thing to get. Tony Zuko is the mayor's chauffeur.
Nice.
And then we cut to this other villain. It's not the prank. It looks like the prankster, but it can't be. That attacks this. I think he's might be a city alderman, and that's where the issue ends. And it says next issue, who pranks the prankster? So it's gonna be really interesting, and Nightwing 19 was one of the, so far out of my comic reading since October of last year, no offense to anyone else that I've read, Nightwing 19 is the perfect starting point for anyone wanting to get into that book, because it's Dick Grayson in a new city, new friends, new foes. Granted, he is searching for closure in his past and all that, but it's so well done, and it's just so amazing. So I think with that, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll come back and see what Batgirl's up to.
No.
So we are back, and with Batgirl number 19, some heavenly music should be playing under my voice right now, ladies and gentlemen, because finally, at last, Gail Simone returns. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Batgirl 18 that Ray Fox wrote, but Batgirl 17 just didn't take for me. But Gail Simone's back. She's writing Batgirl again, and the splash cover here is, to stop her brother, must she commit the ultimate crime? And it's absolutely awesome. This issue, if you weren't reading Batgirl before, I don't know if this would be a direct. I don't know if this is like the Nightwing issue where you could jump into Nightwing story. But if you wanted to jump into Batgirl, you probably could with the number 19, because it gives you all the background on her and James Jr. growing up. But it is a sick and twisted tale with her telling the story of... basically, it starts out with her coming home to her roommate, Alyssa. And basically, they reveal secrets to each other. And this is one of them... I wouldn't say... It's probably one of the most controversial things in comics today, where Alyssa revealed herself to be a transgender. I don't think I've ever seen that in mainstream comics. So that caused a bunch of waves on the internet. But in her revealing that, Barbara reveals pretty much everything about what has been going on in her life, other than the fact that she is Batgirl. That's the one thing she does not tell Alyssa, that she is Batgirl. And it goes on from there, and it starts kind of like a flashback story of meeting up with her brother, and the fact that their mother set up the meeting, and they're telling backstories of when they were kids and how James absolutely loved seeing the old murder mystery movies and, killers and serial killers and everything else. Apparently he loved that stuff as a kid, and he, as a kid, thought it was too sloppy to just shoot somebody and whatever else, and wanted to do more theatrical things to people. It's an absolutely gripping tale. If you ever wanted to see the most sickening sibling rivalry, read Barbara Gordon and James Jr., because holy crap, it's just amazing. And spoilers, the mother was the one that set up the meeting, but it had to be James Jr. who thought he set up the meeting. And it ends with you're under arrest for murder of my son. Hands on the back of your head, Batgirl, I'm warning you. Basically, her father is going to arrest her or shoot her depending on what her actions are. So, Commissioner Gordon, he doesn't even know that it's his daughter. And it says, at the bottom, it says, next, the ventriloquist takes center stage. Now, I mentioned to you before that they were going to bring the ventriloquist into Batgirl, and you were like, really? And I read up on it, and apparently it's not the male ventriloquist. They're bringing in a female version of the ventriloquist. You've seen BTAS Mean Seasons, right?
Yeah.
Combine that female character with the ventriloquist character, basically.
Boo.
No, it looks really cool. It looks interesting, but I've always felt that with some of the other Bat family members, like Barbara, like Dick Grayson, like Tim Drake and all that, like, what outside of the main Bat Rogues Gallery, what Rogues Gallery do they have? With Barbara, obviously, her brother, and now that Simone is creating this new female version of the ventriloquist for her, I think it's interesting. The same thing with Nightwing, as I said earlier, the fact that he continues to have to deal with his past. And it's not just a villain of the week story. Because, as you know and I know, some of those old BTAS episodes, as awesome as they are, and we've said this before in Legends of the Dark Knight, the Penguin episodes are essentially Penguin is the villain of the week. So I'm glad that they are doing these in-depth storylines in the comics, and it's absolutely awesome. So, where do we go from here, sir?
Batman and Robin.
All right, let's get there. But first, this clip.
Didn't suck.
Well, as for Batman and Robin, number 19, it basically starts out with Batman going after like a Frankenstein-like creature.
Right.
And trying to... well, I mean, for one, he's got, the Carrie Kelly chick that shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, more or less, he finds out that Damian was taking some kind of lessons from her.
Right.
So she was coming to pick up money and stopped at Wayne Manor. And, of course, Bruce, goes to drop off the check at the door. And they're all in costume and various Justice League or Robin, for instance.
Yeah, that was kind of cool, though.
But, yeah, it cuts to some Agents of Shade. So you see Frankenstein, essentially, later on.
Yeah.
And Batman's under the assumption, I can reanimate him.
He's basically in denial. Like, he doesn't...
and that's the thing is, they're working him through the 5 stages of grief. This first issue is the title of denial, refusing to accept that he's dead. So, the Carrie Kelly role is not really important at all, for the most part, to this issue. It's just mostly he's trying to reanimate his son. So he goes to Frankenstein, trying to figure out how he functions by taking him apart. And he's borderline obsessive to the point that Alfred calls Red Robin, who comes in and interrupts Batman's little investigative surgery. So yeah, there's a bigger rift, more or less, that gets put between Tim Drake and Bruce Wayne because of this, since the death of the family, because Red Robin won't allow him to do this, so he blows up the machine.
Yep.
Well, first he gets kind of pushed out of the way by Bruce, and he uses a word command for a Titan's jet to come in and blow it up, which pisses him off, and then he gets back in his jet and leaves, and Robin is stuck to put Frankenstein back together.
All the King's horses and all the King's men couldn't put Frankenstein back together again. But you know I had to make that joke.
Yeah. But anyways, that's pretty much the gist of it, is he's trying to reanimate his son, and then Carrie Kelly's just kind of in it because she knew Damian.
Yeah, I do like that, I do like that they did that. I thought that was interesting, because you got to think that Damian is going to want not only to please his mother, but also please his father. And as I stated last time with issue 18, when Damian wrote that note to Bruce, he was trying to become his own man, and he needed lessons for something. I don't even think Carrie Kelly even says what she was training him for in this. The issue basically ends with, her receiving a $10,000 check from Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, rent obviously isn't going to be an issue. I like this issue. I don't like the tease. I honestly don't, because the main issue, or the main cover of the issue, the splash cover, is basically And I didn't even know, I didn't even notice about the title change, because I thought the only time the title was going to change was Batman and Batgirl, which is issue 21. But I didn't realize that they were doing title changes for 19, 20, 21, and I think 22 as well. They're going to do it for 22 as well. But the splash cover tease is the Dark Knight's new partner, Carrie Kelly, and it's got her in a Robin suit. Basically, almost the same one that she has on at the costume party in the issue. But I understand why they teased it that way, because everybody apparently loves Carrie Kelly. And that's all well and good, but I just didn't get it. And of course at the end it says, next, Red Hood in Rage. So Batman and Red Hood is the number 20 issue.
Yeah, I've seen that coming too.
Yeah.
They're going to keep doing it.
Yep. I think that's going to do it.
There is one other issue, but...
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in the closing of the show, though. So we're going to take a quick ad break, and we'll come back after this.
Coming to Grand Rapids, Michigan on September 21st and 22nd is GrandCon Gaming and Comics Convention, presented by Celebration Cinemas. Join us in playing or chatting it up with fellow enthusiasts in a community that understands your passions. Get lost in the adventure of your favorite role-playing game. Admire costumes and art from vendors and attendees. Meet the creators behind your favorite mainstream and independent games and comic books. Check out unpublished games and sneak peek at things to come. You can get all this and more at GrandCon. For more information, please visit www.grand-con.com.
This is Kevin Conroy, and I am the goddamn Batman.
We are back, and I completely threw Steve in front of a exploding batarang there. What is going on in Detective, sir?
Well, Detective, the point of it is, if they hadn't started its renumbering with the launch of the New 52, then it would have been the issue 900, which is why it's an 80-page.
Yes.
And also, that's why the issue is called The 900.
Yeah.
It actually takes place on the 900th block of Gotham.
So they're doing a whole Two-Face thing, but instead of the number 2, it's 900.
I don't know what you're referring to, but...
Well, where Two-Face is always about the number 2. Like, the 2nd Street Bank on the 22nd day of the 2nd month, where everything Two-Face does is dealing with the number 2.
Okay, then that makes sense. But this story has to do with the Man-Bat virus, which is unleashed because of Emperor Penguin.
Oh my god.
Well, you find out that he's gotten whatever this is, whatever virus it is. He told Zaz in the previous issue to dip the blade in this particular chemical when he kills his next victim. And then, of course, Zaz has to cut himself when he kills someone. So, of course, he concocted the virus. So it also goes, more backstory about Kirk Langstrom and why he developed it, which was to help people heal, or help people hear and see with sonar, if they're deaf or blind kind of thing, which is why he actually developed it. And then you see Batman in a specialized suit so he can't breathe in the air.
Very
to turn
cool.
into it. And then, so there's an outbreak of Man-Bats all over the place.
So there's a Man-Bat army all over Gotham?
Pretty much. He finds Zaz, though, and takes Zaz down. And then Langstrom eventually turns himself into a Man-Bat to help Batman. Because somehow he can control it or whatever, and he kind of flies off.
Interesting.
Yes, it was.
Anything else you want to say on Detective?
No, not really. I mean, there was a couple stories in there, but that was pretty much the prime part of it.
All right. Well, the other issue I was going to bring up that doesn't really deserve a full-on review segment here in the pull bag is Batman Beyond Unlimited number 15. I so cannot wait until this comic, and I understand it's 3 digital comics put into one book, but I so cannot wait until this book is its own story outside of Superman and Justice League Beyond. Again, in this issue, they have, first of all, the cover is Superman holding something, pushing something, pulling something with some sort of explosion around him. And in the bottom right-hand corner of the cover, new Batman Beyond story begins here. Basically, the title friggin' character, Batman Beyond Unlimited, gets a circle in the bottom right-hand corner of the cover. And Superman gets... I just wish that they would give Superman and Justice League their own friggin' titles. I know it's probably not cost-effective for DC, but I wish that they would do that and just leave Batman Beyond alone. Like, yes, I know Terry has affiliations with the Justice League Beyond and all that stuff, but it's like, holy crap. This issue has the League and Superman stories first, and the Batman Beyond story last. And the new story is Undercloud, the Sound, and the Fury. And it's basically Max dealing with this stranger, whoever he is. Basically, what it boils down to is a showdown between Batman and Shriek. So it's going to continue in issue 16 with Batman and Shriek going at it. I like that. I think that's cool. I've always liked Shriek as a Terry villain, and I like the Shriek character in general. But I'm going to continue to get Batman Beyond. I don't know if I'm going to continue to mention it in these Bat Book episodes unless it goes to just Batman Beyond stories, because I can't see myself continuing to spend, after discount, $3.55 on a book that has 2 stories in it that I have no interest in whatsoever. And I know people are going to comment on this episode, or they're going to send in voicemails or send in emails saying, oh, well, just get it digitally. I don't use Comixology. I have nothing against Comixology. I don't get digital comics. I don't get them. I don't have a device to read them. Yes, I'm sure I could find an application for my computer to read them, but I need to have a comic book in my hands. I need to have a physical copy. But I don't know if I can continue, even with Kyle coming on later on this year, as much as I want to read Kyle's stories for Batman Beyond, and it's going to be friggin' epic when he starts writing. If they continue to release it this way, I don't understand why. Like, neither one of the Superman or Justice League stories ties into the new Batman Beyond story whatsoever. Why couldn't they have put that story first? That makes no sense to me at all whatsoever. And that's going to be my continuing bitch gripe about this title until it changes.
And that's kind of why I collect hit or miss on that.
Yeah. So, I think that's going to do it for us this time around.
I think so too.
Any other thoughts you want to impart on the listeners?
No, don't think so.
All right. Thank you for joining us here in the Pull Bag. Join us next time when we will have some sort of comic episode for you. We don't know if it'll be an Origins episode. We don't know if it'll be a review episode. It might even be a back issue episode. You'll just have to tune in and see what happens here in the Pull Bag. For now, I am TFG1 Mike with
Steve Megatron Phillips.
And be sure to make your great escape into comics.
You just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, GCRN's comic book review podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you were leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. You can send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @GeekCastRadio. So until next time, unleash the geek in you.